Coach, kind of the first thing I just want to ask about from the Idaho game, just kind of noticed RJ didn't take a ton of snaps. I think it was around 25, 26. Is that just kind of trying to ease him back in from the nagging injury through fall camp?
Yeah, I think we had an issue with RJ in the summer, and it was a progression to get him all the way back. We had a certain target of snaps that we wanted to hit, and so he was on the old pitch count. And as the game kept progressing, we stuck to it, and we've been in constant conversation with RJ and his family, and this is what was best for RJ in the progression, and we care about that. So now that we've gotten over this hump, he feels good today. He had a great lift. RJ will be full go as we go through the rest of the season.
I think it's fair to say this game has probably been on your calendar for a while for a lot of reasons. Obviously, it's a big game for the program, but I think a big game for you going back home and getting to see, getting back to Wisconsin. How do you kind of find a balance between, all right, my job is to come and coach this team to victory, and I'm going back to a place that, you probably watched a million Wisconsin games growing up and, dreamed about coaching or playing at Camp Randall?
Well, I think it's the biggest game of the year because it's the only one we're playing this week. And I know that's typical coach speak from me. But at the end of the day, I'll address this. I mean, it's special for me, really, for one reason, because there's going to be a lot of people there that helped me get to this point. Right, my college coach is going to be there. He's coming from Orlando, Florida. My 86-year-old grandma is going to be there. She already asked me if I want her homemade strawberry jelly. Absolutely, right? So those people that I represent each and every day. And I think they're immensely proud of me, and that's why I'm sitting in these seats. I'm a product of who's been around me my whole life and the hard work that's got me here. So that's why I'm excited about it. But our team's ready for this challenge, right? And our team is ready for this environment and what that's going to mean going on the road and trying to win against a really good football team. That is the focus, period. And we had a bunch of mature competitors walk in the building this morning, right? Some of that film from last week was not where we wanted it to be, and they took constructive criticism, and they're ready to get back to work. So I can't wait to get them back for kind of our install meetings this afternoon and really move on to the Wisconsin game.
And kind of on that, you said there'd be a lot to learn from this film this morning. What'd you walk away from film, maybe some primary takeaways after that session?
Well, I just think, the best thing is when I watched the film, we still won the game, right? And I think that was the best thing. So that's a good. I think 1-0 is a combination of a bunch of things we talk about, right? The plan, the preparation, the effort, and the execution. Okay, I thought we had a great plan. I thought we had 8 practice days of great preparation, and then the effort piece. Okay, our guys played hard, right? But there is a toughness, there's a mental fortitude, there's a strain and a push that we fell short on. Okay, and that allowed us not to execute at the high level that we need to win football games, period. Okay, and that's the standard that we have set for ourselves, and I love that our guys were a little disappointed coming in this morning, but we flushed it, we've cleared it. We got to be more physical, we got to be tougher. There's a grit that we need to win football games here at Washington State. That's been a part of who I am and who our program is going to be. So, but the biggest thing that hit me, so Friday nights in the team meeting, the last thing we do, we come together, we sing the school song, okay? And any new traveler, anyone new to the game comes up front, okay? We had over 50 people in the front of the 74 travelers, okay? So when I was sitting back there and I was like, fight, I was looking over, I was like, wow, there's not a lot of guys left on this side of the deal. There was coaches, there was support staff, there was all these new guys. So we're no longer rookies, okay? Christian Hilborn has now played a game. Orion Peters has now caught a ball. Sam Lockett is no longer a junior college player, right? So there was a lot of learns this morning that are going to lead to future success. But I think that was something in that moment, so to have a little adversity in game one is a good thing. And like I said, we're still 1-0.
Obviously a standout performance from Nakia and kind of a sort of a homecoming for him as well. Can you just, talk about what you've seen from his development from the last game last year to now as a runner, what he's added to his game?
Well, I think first off, one guy that I do want to point out was Jared Kingston. I think Jared played the best game that I've seen him play since I've been here. Okay, and that led to a lot of Nakia's success. There were some lanes that he had an opportunity to run through, but you got to remember Nakia hasn't played football in 3 years, right? So for him to get some touches and prove himself, I think he's got a high want to. Right? He came here with a purpose. He came into a difficult situation where he wasn't going to be the guy and had to buy his turn. And so I think he's improved, and I think he as well will look through this game and find some ways where we can have a little bit better ball security. But, the physicality that he brings, is something that our offense needs, and we need to take advantage of some light boxes, and I thought we did that on Saturday.
Coach, Wisconsin 18th in the country right now. This is going to be a nationally televised game. How big is this for the program to have an opportunity to go out there and perform on a stage like this?
Well, I think these are the moments. That's why you come here. And I love these challenges, and to do it, it's going to take something really, really special. But it's not going to take an out-of-body experience. Okay, the 1-0 plan that I just talked about for Idaho will be the same plan for Wisconsin. It'll be in a different environment, and we got to just make sure we're just focused on one play at a time. Okay, and I think that was the one thing we learned from Saturday is when you stay in that moment and you keep grinding through it, really good things can happen. So, we can talk about the outside and the environment and all this stuff, but it matters what's in the arena. It matters how we play and how we perform and how we execute, right? So that'll be the focus really of the game, and we know the challenge that's ahead. I think this is a really disciplined football team, and I think Wisconsin has won a lot of games doing it that way over a long period of time. Okay, so Coach Chris, I have the utmost respect for him because it isn't just getting a program to a certain level that's hard. It's sustaining that success, okay? And they've done it their own way, developing players, right? And they play hard, they play physical, they play tough. They're as advertised, and they're as big as we've seen and probably maybe as big, in our league as you can get. So the challenge is understandable, but you don't worry about the challenge. You worry about what each individual player needs to do to be successful.
And kind of building off, I know you were asked about this a little bit, kind of a homecoming of sorts for you to go there and play. Were you a fan of Wisconsin growing up, and how cool will this be to just be in the stadium?
Yeah, a fan is probably putting it lightly. I think when you grow up there, there's a few things that are in your blood, right? Beer, cheese, right? And Packers and Badgers and Bucks and Brewers and that I'm a product of Wisconsin. I talked to Miss Payton. I said, what about when we land, what about we get everybody a brat? She's like, Coach, that's not what we need to be preparing for the game. So, it's going to be a great moment and a great challenge getting back there. But I think it's going to be special for what it means for our program to go out there and perform, and that's really our focus.
Jake, are you bringing any of that strawberry jelly to the presser next week? Because that's a very important question.
It might be a Victory Monday jelly toast that I get. Like, I laugh at that because when I was at Mankato, we didn't have the funds to stay in a hotel. So I would stay with my grandma who lives in Milwaukee when I was out recruiting, and those are some special moments. So it's the best. I'm just telling you. Raspberry is a no-go for me. All strawberry, and she knows that.
Walking off the field, did you feel any different this week than you did the 6 times last year when you coached this team?
Absolutely. I think now that you have any time to put your stamp on our program, right? This isn't my program, it's our program. But, I think there was a lot of pride, that you still feel. And one thing, last year was one thing, but now when you know that, every step of the way, every detail is something that you get an opportunity to control, I think it hits different and it's special. And that's why I told those guys, like, there's a lot, winning's hard, okay? Be joyful, right, in that moment. And that's what I tried to be. I remind our coaches of that because I remember being that coach that, hey, things maybe didn't go well and it's woe was me, but that's ego, right? Don't let ego steal joy, right? So I was very joyous for our team and our program, but more importantly, our fans. I mean, our students showed up. They packed that place. We opened up the Crim Zone for them, so we got to get some more students back over there. They forgot where that's at, but, just excited about our program and where we're headed.
So did you drive home from the game by yourself, or did you drive home with your family?
Well,
you don't just have to.
I had my 2 boys with me. My 2 boys with me, absolutely.
So,
one was sleeping.
So,
yes.
So feeling different, what were the thoughts driving home? What did you think of driving home?
Well, it was funny. As we were driving home, I was just talking to Jet, my 8-year-old, just about his best experience of the game. And I wasn't even thinking about the game. I said, hey, buddy, tell me what you loved. Tell me what you saw. They live it through such a different lens, So when we came upstairs and the whole family greeted me up in my office after the game, I mean, they love their dad, right? And they love the Cougs win, and that's the joy that I'm talking about. They didn't care who was against or how it happened. It was just great to really share in that moment with my wife and my 3 kids. And, sometimes I just like to step away from the football realm and think about how they see it. So that's what the drive home was actually about.
Coach, you mentioned growing up a Wisconsin fan, or diehard, maybe a better way to put it. Did you have a favorite Wisconsin player growing up?
Well, absolutely. Well, first off, I would be remiss if I didn't say Gary Dickert, because my uncle played for them, so he'd be mad at me. But Ron Dane. I got to grow up in the Ron Dane era and the history of Wisconsin at tailback, and Braylon Allen, is probably, if not, maybe going to be the best one to ever come through there. I'll let those fans decide that, but he's a physical talent, and he's amazing, and reminds me a little bit of Ron Dane and how he operated, and that was a big time as I grew up, yes.
What have you maybe tried to tell, the players or even the coaches about kind of what to expect of that environment? It's obviously a Big Ten stadium, Camp Randall, gets pretty crazy, and then you talk about the heat and the humidity. Have you kind of tried to prepare them for that aspect of the game, in addition to what's going to happen on the field, between the lines? Yeah,
I think we had, in camp at the end of the first Saturday, we had a couple prep days on Wisconsin, and we addressed it then. And, like now as we get into the week, to me, that's all outside noise, right? They understand the environment we're going to go in. So I'm just focused on that piece of it more than anything than, what it is. So when you bring too much attention to that, we'll work with crowd noise this week. We'll make sure our guys are prepared. But at the end of the day, we control what we do on that field.
Again, just kind of going back to the Idaho game, I think one thing that probably stood out, the 3 fumbles is obviously, I think, probably what you're talking about when you have focused on that execution piece. What's kind of been the message to say, hey, we can't do that against Wisconsin, we can't do that against anyone, is give the ball away 3 times on the ground? In
football is different, right? Nakia has probably been tackled 10 times since spring, and you just don't put those guys in those situations anymore, but it is a skill and an art to have ball security. So I know our coaches, have aggressively, been emphasizing it, but now everyone's at full attention. I've talked about the ball more than anything, right? And how we need to maintain it and how we need to take it away. So that's not the way we're going to win games is giving away the football. So it's an emphasis every day, and will continue to be that way.
How'd you like the rotation of Lockett, Hicks, and then Maingoa and Brown, just kind of how they performed in that, trading off snaps?
I think especially at Mike with Trey and Cisco, I think that'll be, kind of as we keep going throughout the season. Trey's game is very physical, right, and is very box-oriented. And, man, he came down and played the way I think he's capable of playing. And Cisco's still learning and growing in some of those elements. So both of those guys will continue to rep. And like I said, someone will go out there first, but those guys will share a lot of reps as we go throughout the season. And, Jaden was a little hobbled kind of coming into the week, and he had an amazing first scrimmage and then a tough 10-day stretch. So now we feel like we got him over the hump. And, so him and Sammy will be out there continuing to battle it out. Sam in game 1 took maybe 2 to 1 reps, but I think that'll be 50-50, and then the film will continue to see who ends up truly, really winning the bulk of those reps as we keep going.
Kind of going back to Wisconsin, you mentioned one family connection to that school. Any other, family or past coaching connections or anything with the program over there?
No. I remember as a young coach, I would go to their coaching clinics and those type of things, but no other direct connections, no.
How many family members and friends do you expect you'll probably have?
It was like a small wedding. Eventually you got to cut off your third cousins, right? So we started there, but the Dickert tailgate's going to be over 200 strong, and I think Coach is buying around 175 tickets this week. So, like I said, I'm excited for our people to represent there, and they'll all be in Cougs gear. I guarantee you that.
Very last thing for you. How would you kind of sum up your upbringing in Oconto and then Kohler later on? And just kind of what did the a daily routine for you look like growing up?
That's an interesting question. We had things. My dad worked hard. My mom was always around, right? An older brother, a younger sister, and then a much younger brother. But small town, and we were allowed to be kids. So growing up, there was a lot of hard work. My dad's a little old school. He's one of those guys that, he's not going to tell you he loves you too often. He's going to give you that handshake. He's going to say he's proud of you. And that's the way I grew up in a great 2-parent home, and just excited about who they made me to who I am, right? And, so like I said, there's a lot of hard work, and everything you ever want in your life is on the other side of hard work. That's how I grew up, and that's what I know. So just excited about that.
Jake, do you remember the first time you went to Camp Randall?
Yeah, it's funny. My dad would do like a principal or superintendent conference in Madison, and I'd go down there and stay. And before we left, we'd sneak out onto the field. They kind of would leave the gates open, a lot like we do, right? If you're sneaking, you can get on that field, and we throw the ball around in different moments like that. And when you're young, you try to kick a field goal, and it never makes it. So that was kind of the first time we really would get out there. But playing football, I never really got to watch a ton of games. I think I was there when Drew Brees set the passing record against Wisconsin, but they had a pick six to win it, right? So I remember a couple of those little moments growing up.
You know, we're not going to ask you to give away the game plan, but is the way to beat Wisconsin you have to match their physicality?
There's no question. You know, at the line of scrimmage is where Wisconsin has been tremendous for a long time, and that's their calling card, right? So the challenge is to make sure we keep Cam upright, and they are big and physical up front. 19 is a tremendous speed rusher off the edge. We got to find a way to contain him, and we got to be confident we cannot get behind the chains, right? And that's not giving away anything against this defense, who's been top 10 for I don't know, the last 10 years. It feels like, if not number one. You can't get yourself behind the chains, right? And then vice versa, looking at the other side, you know, you got to try to get them behind the chains, right? So first down's a big down, and you don't do it by playing soft. You play it by being aggressive and physical, and that's what our mentality has to be coming into this football game.
I got one more. I always got one more.
Hey, you drove all the way. It's Labor Day. I mean, you might as well get them all in.
Colton asked about the safeties, and just kind of noticed, didn't really see much of Shep on Saturday. Was he going through something, or just kind of how the rotation played out?
He was another guy. After that first scrimmage, we just kind of had some deals where we couldn't get him back up to full strength. We felt with the tempo of the game, Jay Lee could handle really all the reps. So we're excited to get Shep back in, not just at safety, but at special teams. I mean, his presence can really add something to the team. So just kind of through the morning lift and everything, everyone's really at full speed, ready to attack this week.
And then, I know you and Coach Kuba both talked about, the quarterback pressures, the hurries that you guys got last year were great, but the sacks were the number you want to increase. You had a third of your total sacks in this first game. You go 6 deep at edge. I mean, how much was that like you go to the tape and say, that's what we want to see? We want to see the production in the sack total.
Yeah, I'm glad you brought that up because I think Bill even stole one from us on the film review. I think he had to take one away, but Bill, he's stone-faced over there. But facts, Bill's just a facts guy. So, but to your point, Jamie, it's our big emphasis. And that was the one thing, Brian and I talked about. Let's be a little bit more aggressive on those edges, and let's let our best playmakers go make plays. And I think you saw that throughout the course of the game, and it's exciting to see some of that work really translate to a plan, and then to have those guys go out and execute it. So, I think people are going to have to plan us a little bit more, a little differently, and cutting those guys loose was a positive thing week one.